I'm calling it.
That must be really central.
And sick people could not make it down, and they got stuck on the 78th floors, and other floors not being able to make it down.
So what happened when they got stuck, Sophia? Did people try to help them down, or they just stayed where they were?
They stayed where they were, and a lot of other people, a lot of younger people stayed with them, trying to comfort them. And we're not sure if anybody, completely made it down yet.
Sophia, how long did it take you to get down?
About 45 to 50 minutes from 92nd floor.
And then when you got down, what did you do?
Try to get to my mom's job at 4 World Trade Center.
Oh, your mom works at 4?
Not World Trade Center, I'm sorry. She works at 4 New York Plaza.
I see.
With J.P. Morgan Chase.
And is she okay?
Yeah, we all got out fine, and my dad met us there, and we had to walk through the bridge to get all the way home from World Trade Center. I walked from there all the way back to Brooklyn.
Sophia, once you got out on the street, what did you do? Which way did you head? How did you figure out how to get out of harm's way?
It was horrible because we tried walking down one street, and they told us there's suitcases over there. They don't know what's in it, so run. So every way you try to go, somebody's telling you, don't go there, run another way.
Right.
And I just fell in with a crowd and, found it somehow with God's grace, God's help.
And you found the energy to run, huh?
From 92nd floor, I walked for 3 hours straight. I was on my feet for 3 hours straight ever since it happened. I haven't gotten a chance to sit down until I got home at 12 o'clock.
Well, we are certainly glad you were safe, Sophia Thomas. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us tonight.
You're welcome.
We have with us now in the studio Michael Wiles. He's an attorney, a former federal prosecutor. He's an expert on immigration law, and he has represented immigration services and immigration agencies. In fact, you've even represented several defectors who have provided shocking intelligence information to the United States law enforcement. Is that true?
It is, actually. Since 1994, after I had the privilege of serving at the U.S. Attorney's Office for our government, I went into private practice with my father, and we represented several diplomats and even a terrorist on one occasion who provided shocking intelligence information to the government. We went into the case with an eye toward not only helping that person, but getting more information to law enforcement. And the information has been and is extraordinary. Many of the things have been shared with Congress and law enforcement, and many things...
Well, what do you make of today, then?
It's a tragedy. This is a national tragedy. I lost a classmate. Barbara Olson and I went to law school together. She was on the flight. And
that crashed into the Pentagon, I believe, right?
I think into the World Trade Center.
Into the World Trade Center?
What do I make of today? There's nothing any American can make of today.
Well, I'd be interested in hearing some of the information that you have, that you have received, some of that key information, but I just want to take a quick little break here. Jennifer Griffin is on our news line right now, and she is in Israel. She has some additional and new information for us tonight. Jennifer, what can you tell us about Osama bin Laden?
Well, Harry, this is a region that's definitely used to terror, but Israelis were shocked and horrified today about the magnitude of the attack in the United States. So far, no one here in the region has taken responsibility for the attacks. Most of the militant Palestinian groups were quick to distance themselves from the terrorism. But terror experts here that I spoke to say that all the signs right now look like they're pointing to Osama bin Laden, the Saudi multimillionaire who has been exiled and living in Afghanistan since 1996. We have a declassified CIA document from a couple years back that talks about the Al-Qaeda movement, that's Osama bin Laden's movement, and how they have declared an all-out war on the United States. They say that the United States is an obstacle to uniting and reforming the Muslim world. They fault the U.S. for backing many what they call anti-Islamic regimes here in the Middle East. But the most recent warning from bin Laden's group actually came in June, and it was given to a London-based correspondent for the Middle East Broadcasting Corporation. He was actually taken into Afghanistan to meet with bin Laden. He's probably the last correspondent outside Afghanistan to meet with bin Laden. He said bin Laden did not speak during that interview, but he simply smiled when his colleagues spoke of an upcoming attack against the U.S. and against the United States and possibly against Israel.
Well, now, Jennifer, if I'm not mistaken, that same correspondent who did that interview had also received other similar threats before that. Is that correct? And part of the problem is to figure out which threats are the real ones and which ones aren't.
Well, I think that's right. There are several correspondents actually that receive these sort of warnings periodically, and there's one in particular in London, not the one I was referring to, but who said that he got one as recently as 3 weeks ago and did not take it seriously. But right now, terror experts here in Israel say that what this looks like is something that only Osama bin Laden and his associates are capable of.
Well, virtually every intelligence expert that we talked to today, Jennifer, it probably comes as no surprise to you, has said that Osama bin Laden certainly does have his fingerprints on this tragedy. Michael Wilds is, if you can stay there just a moment, Jennifer.
Sure.
Michael Wilds is joining us. I'm sure that that's a name that just constantly came up when you were talking to some of your people, right?
Extraordinary network of terrorist cells, tentacles that reached in every state across the country here. The fact is that these dastardly deeds are committed by individuals through insidious methods, through cover of 501c3 tax exemption, and by using legitimate businesses through diplomatic cover. We had a diplomat that explained how they were able to seize or actually reach into New York with diplomatic cover, weaponry, and terrorist organizations and surveillance methods that were being conducted on U.S. soil.
Well, what can we do to stop Osama bin Laden, and what should we have done up to this point to stop him?
I had the privilege of testifying on Capitol Hill about 2 years ago in support of legislation that would have changed U.S. immigration laws to stop those who would knowingly associate or aid and abet terrorists. This legislation fell by the wayside when the Clinton administration was making overtures to the Iranian government at the time. There's a lot that we can do. We need to re-look at some of the legislation so that it protects the victims that have fallen today, so that it stops people from coming through our borders. We need to assess our vulnerabilities at every point and get to work, because there's a lot of people have been working very hard to stop, and there's a lot yet that we can do.
Okay, Jennifer, this kind of thing, unfortunately, is routine in Israel. People are aware that something like this that could happen at virtually any moment. And yet I would certainly imagine that when something like this happens any place in the world, Israelis are some of the first to decry this kind of violence.
Well, that's right, Harry. Israelis are certainly used to suicide bombing attacks of late. There's been a constant wave in the last few months. And they have had to come up with very extreme sort of measures to deal with what they consider constant terrorism facing them on a daily basis in their restaurants and cafes and other crowded places. And one of the things that they have done is that they have implemented a policy that they call targeted killings, which most other people would call assassinations, of known leaders of groups that have either taken credit for or responsibility for, or that they have evidence are linked to these suicide bombings inside Israel. One of the things that U.S. intelligence officers tell us is that they feel very hamstrung these days because there are laws in place since the 1970s in the United States against assassinations, preventing the CIA from carrying out assassinations. And up until very recently, the NSA, the National Security Agency, had been able to track Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. But because of these very stringent laws, sometimes intelligence officers feel that there's not much they can do in fighting terrorism.
Yeah.
Also, earlier in the day, we had some video from the West Bank where we actually saw some Palestinians cheering when they heard about what happened in New York and Washington. Did you see any of that for yourself, Jennifer?
Well, there were Palestinians here in East Jerusalem that were celebrating. These were really rather shocking images, and there were